A shocking new insight into the last days of Pheobe Prince's tragic life. Cops say a group of mean teens bullied this beautiful girl to the point of suicide. Was the bullying ignored by teachers? Tonight, the school fights back. Issues starts now. Plus, shocking new insight into the last days of Pheobe Prince's tragic life. Was the bullying ignored by teachers? Tonight, the school fights back. A beautiful teenage girl bullied to suicide. That's next. And tonight, outrage boils over after a 15-year-old is literally pushed to the edge and takes her own life. Prosecutors say Pheobe Prince was tormented so brutally by a pack of bullies at her high school in South Hadley, Massachusetts, that she hanged herself. Tonight, a shocking report reveals that the alleged campaign of terror persisted even after she died. The mother of a classmate claims that one of the accused bullies wrote, quote, "accomplished," as her status on her Facebook page on the day of Phoebe's suicide. Oh my God. 3 teens have been charged as an adult, including 2 young men who face statutory rape charges. In all, 9 kids accused of bullying and harassment. Are the alleged bullies the only ones to blame? What about their parents? School officials are now defending themselves.
Phoebe, she didn't reveal to people what she was being subjected to, and unfortunately, until January 7th, we were not aware of what she was being subjected to, so there was very little way we could have intervened in the bullying that took place.
So, it's Phoebe's fault? Really? Seriously? The horror has shaken everybody in the town, especially one heartbroken friend who spoke to NBC.
She was, a really good friend. I hope people will get a lesson out of it. Treat each other with respect.
Issues reached out to the superintendent, but we did not hear back before deadline. The attorney for the 17-year-old girl who's charged as an adult had no comment. I am joined by Darby O'Brien, a friend of Phoebe's family. Darby's stepdaughter is a senior at South Hadley High who spoke out against bullying at a town meeting. We will find out what happened to her after. 16-year-old Bridget Berman, a victim and witness to bullying, who wrote a manual for kids called Dory Witt's Guide to Surviving Bullies. And Jody Blanco. Jody endured such horrific torment, she attempted suicide on more than one occasion. She is the author of Please Stop Laughing at Me. Darby, I want to start with you. First of all, thank you for having the courage to speak out, because I know quite a few people in the community are afraid to talk because they're afraid of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I say anything?
Right.
So what happened to your daughter after the community meeting where she spoke out against bullying?
I think things have been fine. I think that a lot of people recognized the courage it took to stand up, and I think, you know, it's very disturbing. It's been a disruptive year for all the kids in the school, but she's hanging in.
Was she harassed at all? Did anybody say anything to her because she spoke up against these bullies?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this question. The superintendent is now defending how school officials handle all of this. The reports of bullying specifically. Listen to this.
If 6 kids feel fine about tormenting a girl out in the open in the school library and in the hallway and throwing cans at her head on the way home from school, that seems to indicate, you know, that this wasn't the first time this had happened. I mean, how can this be going on in the hallways and nobody seemed to have reported it?
Well, first of all, if it had happened earlier, which we believe probably it did, and it had been observed by our staff and reported to us, I'm telling you that the principal would have taken stern action with the kids.
Really? Here's my big issue. See no evil? The bullying had reportedly been going on, according to the DA, for almost 3 months. New reports claim some incidents were witnessed by faculty, such as when her photo was vandalized. The day she died, Phoebe was attacked by bullies who ganged up on her in the library and blocked the door while calling her names, allegedly with a staffer inside. Kids in the hallways also reportedly dumped her books, and nobody saw anything? No surveillance cameras? And get this, Phoebe's mother reportedly complained to school officials twice. So I have to go back to you. Darby.
Yes.
Do you buy the explanation of school officials that they knew nothing about the bullying until just 1 week before?
No, no. What happened was Phoebe's aunt actually spoke to the school before she entered the school and warned them that Phoebe had been susceptible to bullying while in Ireland. So to look out for her. She was told that a counselor would speak to her when she entered the school. In fact, nobody spoke to her for 3 months. Her mother talked to the school in November, early November, and again spoke to the school the week of January 7th, which was a week before. Gus Sayer indicates that they became aware of the bullying. So no, I don't buy it.
You're saying they are just they're flat out saying they didn't know. Why would they say that if the relatives had complained to them?
Well, I think that they just looked the other way. They were attempting to cover it up. I mean, I think what's happening now is you've got the superintendent Sayer who's duking it out with the district attorney. And I think it's as simple as, where do you put your trust? I mean, do you trust an investigation that Principal Dan Smith did where he was investigating himself and his staff? Or do you trust the investigation that DA Scheibel did with the Massachusetts State Police and the South Hadley detectives?
All right. Everybody stay right where you are. When we come back, we're going to talk to these two women who have been bullied. So much more on this tragic suicide.
I have emails, anonymous emails that I'm getting from all over the country, okay? Mostly, they're disgusting. Mostly, they're things like people say, you administrators should burn in hell, and stuff like that. And even worse, that's a mild one.
Poor thing. No, he's not the victim here. School officials in South Hadley, Massachusetts are feeling the heat after a 15-year-old girl takes her own life. Did a gang of school bullies push her over the edge? Here's what one parent told NBC.
I have a son in the middle school here in South Hadley, and he has cerebral palsy, and he gets picked on regularly here, and I've called the school to address it, and they don't do a thing about it.
Jody Blanco, you are a bullying survivor. What I think is just so stunning about this case is the sheer number of people accused of bullying this girl.
Well, and Jane, I want you to know that I work in schools all across America sharing my story. I work with tens of thousands of kids, and this is not isolated. This happens all over. And what has to happen is this school knew about it, they knew what was going on, and they have to be held accountable because, Jane, if they're not, it's a slap in the face to all the schools who are responding, who are trying to get it right, and it's like giving our blessing to the schools who continue to do what Phoebe's school did, which is nothing. And with that number of kids tormenting that poor girl, teachers knew, hall monitors knew, they knew.
But what do you make of the fact that school administrators are saying they didn't know? Quote, she didn't reveal to people that what she was being subjected to. And unfortunately, until January 7th, we were not aware of what she was being subjected to. So there was very little way we could have intervened in the bullying. They say they didn't find out until one girl called her an Irish slut in class.
Jane, they're covering their butts, which is what you would expect. I have been in schools where there was a kid who was building a bomb because he was getting so harassed. And when I told the principal and I said, I'm going to meet with the kids' parents tonight after my parent-family seminar, the principal actually looked me in the eye and said, honey, I'd love to be there, but I've got a manicure appointment.
Oh, my God. Bridget Berman, you've written a book about how to survive, and this is one thing. What would you tell these kids when they're being bullied? How do they fight back?
Well, the one thing I always encourage is talk to a trusted adult. And the problem right now is there are no trusted adults in the schools. It's okay if you can't find a trusted adult in school to move on and talk to the police force because there are resource officers there who are meant to protect children.
Well, you know what really strikes me as so horrifying is that some of the 9 teens who are facing charges in connection with this alleged bullying are honor students. So these are not juvies, juvenile delinquents who are your classic troublemakers. Some of them are honor students. Some of them have excelled at sports.
Jane, I want to jump in here. I call those kids elite tormentors, the mean popular kids who exclude on purpose, who are cruel on purpose, and they're a school's most insidious beast because teachers love them. The community thinks they're adorable, and so they can get by with these crimes because everyone's in self-inflicted denial. And this is the biggest threat in our school systems, are those elite tormentors. There's no doubt, and everyone has to be held accountable here, Jane, adults and the students.
We've got to leave it right there. It's a crisis. We're staying on top of it. You're watching Issues on HLN.